Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, day after Victory Day in Iraq. A lot of good news on the RV front seems to be coming out with the bonds, new currency. Let's see what happens. We're all waiting, as we know. I'm a little behind today, as usual. Didn't plan on getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but that's when I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And because I take Ambien for insomnia, I had a little Ambien hangover this morning when I woke up. I had to go take care of an appointment. Took care of that, and still kind of a little hungover. Got that feeling. If you looked at the banners that I showed you earlier, I have the 12 Days of Christmas special coming up, beginning Christmas Day, running to Epiphany Day, January 6th. We all learned something this month. We all learned about the 12 Days of Christmas, whether you wanted to or not, whether you thought it happened 12 days before Christmas, up to Christmas, which, I don't know, that just makes sense. But apparently it begins Christmas Day, runs till Epiphany Eve on the 5th, and then Epiphany Day on the 6th of January. So I'll be running packages. First day, well, you're going to get a partridge in a pear tree. I'm totally kidding. You could have either one, Susan Day or David Cassidy, whatever partridge you want, right? Those are the only two of age besides Shirley. So anyway, no, you will not get a partridge. On the first day, there will be one item up. The next day, it'll be two items. Next day, three. Next day, four. All the way up till the 12th day, Epiphany Day, where there'll be 12 different items in that particular day's special. So look forward to that. This is the banner that you need to. Hopefully, most of my audience will be extremely wealthy and won't have a problem throwing money at it. In the description below of this video is the link to go nominate my buddy, Dr. Edward Group, to be a part of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s U.S. Department of Health and Human Services during the next Trump administration. Should we get there? That's a whole different ball game, whole different story. But this is so be sure and take care of him. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to talk to Kristen and Diane, but I will start shooting shows for them. We're going to do a video for each individual product that's offered at fearlessfloydpets.com. And those are mushroom supplements to assist with your immune system. I'm not going to tell you anything else. That would be giving medical advice. So this is the banner you need to. If you have any questions about the ingredients, availability, shipping, and any questions, fearlessfloydpets@gmail.com. I won't answer them, but two qualified individuals will, and that would be Diane and Kristen. So if you're looking for that, there you go. Today's show, as you see from the banner, the private side of life and what that looks like. But before I jump into the show, I've been doing a lot of video recordings with Noel Benoist, former NSA whistleblower, Majestic 12 member, Man in Black. You heard me, okay? The Men in Black, that's a real thing. Noel Benoist used to be a Man in Black. Yeah, I know. way back when the movie came out originally with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Did we ever think that we would actually ever in our entire life be able to talk to a man in black? Here it is. How I got blessed to do that. I told y'all I live this incredible divine life, and I just, I was so bad at managing my own life. I had to give up the keys and give them to somebody else. So I gave my keys to my divine, and it said, "Hey, man, it's your turn." I've totaled way too many of my lifetime, so you take control here. See if you can do better, because I sure can't. And that's where we're at. And I just live this incredibly divine, joyous, happy, blessed life. And I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to present somebody like Noel to you. We did 3 parts. Yesterday was the debut of the John F. Kennedy story. And that's part 1 of 3-part series on the Kennedy brothers. Friday, we will be debuting part 2, which is the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy story. And then the following Tuesday next week, which is the 17th, will be the late Senator Edward Kennedy. And that'll conclude the 3-part Kennedy Brothers series. And then we jumped right over and hit up Martin Luther King. So that one will come out next Thursday on the 9th. And then on the 24th, Christmas Eve, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, laterly fondly known as Jackie O. Onassis, Jackie Kennedy Onassis. We're doing a show on her on Christmas Eve, and then following that up on the day after Christmas, that Thursday on the 26th, Marilyn Monroe. And then to cap off a month of some of this information you're going to get from Noel is the first time it's been released public, or the first time that you are going to hear it in this generation. December 31st. I believe that's a Tuesday. I don't have my calendar yet. December 31st. That is a Tuesday. That will be MK Ultra, folks. Yeah, we're going to talk about MK Ultra and that program. I look real forward to that one. And then just to give you, kind of a roundabout of all the other stuff that we're going to cover, we're going to talk about former FBI director and alleged crossdresser J. Edgar Hoover. We'll also talk about the Warren Commission report, the creation of the National Security Association or Administration, NSA. We will talk about the 1947 Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. We will talk about Area 51 and Groom Lake. We'll also talk about Bob Lazar. He knew of, Noel knew of Bob Lazar, or knew Bob Lazar. Their 2 stories connected. He was able to vet Bob Lazar's story about working at Area 51. We'll also talk about the church committee. If you're not familiar with that, go look that up. We'll also talk about deep underground military bases. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And last, but not the very last, this is the last one on my list, we're going to talk about cloning. We'll also talk about synthetics. We'll also talk about silicone masks and how long that they've actually been using that technology. I think you will be surprised at what our United States government and military has had in its possession, how long they've had it in its possession, and what the evolution would look like today of that technology from 50, 60, 70 years ago, folks. Absolutely. The big curve started in in the 40s, but mainly in 47, 48. That's when everything took off. So that's what I look forward to doing. Thursday. Am I hearing something? Thursday. High noon. Corey Inderlat. If you are not familiar with Corey Inderlat, he is a brilliant young man with a brilliant mind. Let me get over here and let me just run through my website real quick for you guys. So, and I'm going to try to keep this up to date. You know, I'm very lax with the website. So here you go. This is the home page. Basically, if you want to email me there. If you need anything, go click on that. That opens up everything. That's how you pay. If you don't want to use PayPal and go through the store and you need an alternative method, boom, there's the store. Boom, there's the home button, but we're already at home. If you want to nominate Ed, just boom, right there. You want to pay with a debit card, just right there. If you want to learn about Scam Anderson, the scammer, right there. If you want to order merch, right there. Here's upcoming shows. Here's Corey. Corey, Nature is the Answer. That is his show on YouTube. He's an abolitionist author. And when I say author, trust me, I don't use that lightly. I believe Corey's written 8 or 9 books, and he's not yet 25 years old. All right. I told you he's an impressive young man. Speaker, integrative nutrition health coach, natural law teacher. He also talks about progressive farming, I believe it is. And here's the layout. So the 10th, we have the JFK. This is today's show. This is tomorrow's show. Here's Friday with RFK. Here's next Tuesday, Edward Kennedy. Thursday, Martin Luther King. I'll put something in here for Wednesday. Oh, I already have Wednesday. I just haven't put it up there yet. That show right here will be, I'll go pull it up for you. All right. This is I haven't posted it yet. But it will be my 2024 year in review. Of course, you see the culprits. And this is where I go and I'll address these people who, allegedly have all the answers, and they'll get you from point A to point Z. Yet it's been another 365 days without any successes on their part. Why? Because that's the wrong place, the wrong people, the wrong time. All they want is your money, time, and energy. They will never, ever, ever help you succeed to move forward going anywhere. And I can do testimony after testimony after testimony to back up what I tell you, but you can either take my word for it or, here's my little old handy New Testament. As always, I swear, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. There you go. So when I tell you these folks, they're not any good. It is what it is. Stop following them. Stop sending them your money. Stop buying their products, their rip-off products. Because if you want a private membership association, do not go pay $2,500. Yes, you heard me right. $2,500 from David Lester Straight for a private membership association when you can just go to my website and get one for $79. It was produced by Ann LaFleur, multi-published author, co-founder with Mickey Clan for Bonds for the Win, somebody that you know, somebody that you can interact with, somebody that you can actually communicate with on Telegram. You don't have to go to her seminars. I know, such a joke. So anyway, that's what's coming up that Wednesday. And I know, y'all sitting down? I have not scheduled it yet. Well, I tentatively scheduled it. Is it cemented that on Friday, December 20th, Elizabeth Rodriguez Ruiz will be on the show? Ooh, maybe. I've got to reach out to her and get her to come on the show. Have I made a determination yet on is she or is she not who she claims to be? I've yet to be able to provide some type of answer, but we will try to get her on the show because I know you guys have been waiting for that. Is Jeff Rom coming on with her? Doubt it very seriously. Do I expect Jeff to be back on the show anytime soon? Probably not because of the holidays, and I do apologize for that, folks, but it's something that's beyond my control and something I'm not going to tolerate or deal with. I was perusing my buddy Dr. Ed Group's Telegram page this morning, and I found something that I read, and I thought it was so neat. I sent it over to my Telegram. So let me get up here and find it. Oops. And I'll show it to you. All right. We should all practice this. Right here. December. Declutter, detach, and delete anything that devalues your life. Don't bring it into 2025. A new year, a new you. That's how I look at it. If you're devaluing my life, you're creating stress, anxiety, drama, negativity, I don't want you in my life. I would rather sit here by myself with my laptop and doing my thing, or reading a book, or playing with my dog, than associate on any level with anybody who's going to devalue my life in any shape, form, or fashion. Whether they come in to suck my energy, my time, my money, I don't want them. Get rid of them. Get those people out of your life. Because if you can't, listen, if you don't have any wealth now, okay, when you do get wealth, you're going to, it's like dropping, a blob of, it's like spilling cake on the floor, because you're so gluttonous that, who cares? I got plenty of cake. Well, what happens when you like show you got excess? It attracts roaches, right? Vermin, because that's what's going to start surrounding you. And if you do not have the ability now to cut those people out of your life, to declutter, delete, December, then when it really comes to you having to pay attention to get these people out of your life, it's going to be much more difficult for you and for them and for the entire relationship. because you're going to have people that are very parasitic, vampiristic in your life once this happens to everybody. That's why I've been kind of, going there with all this. I need to start sending some links. So hang on here. I got guests, and I told them I'd send them a link. And there goes the first one. Let me email it for him. Make sure he got it. Hang on 1 second with me. All right, he's in the books. So that's it's not me preventing Jeff from coming on the show by any shape, form, fashion. So let's get that elephant out of the room. All right. So it has nothing to do with me. As far as I'm concerned, we would be talking to Jeff right now. Because I know you guys like to hear from him. I know you like the platform. You like to kind of hear us banter back and forth. I know he does his own thing on Monday night, Holy Ground, whatever that is. I don't have time to go watch other people's stuff. Wish I did, but I don't. I'm very selective about what I do listen to and pay attention to, because that allows me to open my mind, expand my horizon, and provide you with new information that you're not going to see anywhere else. So when I talk about the private side of life, I'm talking about moving into not 100% being invisible, going and living in off the grid with no electricity or anything like that. No. That's not what the private side is. The private side is operating out in the public, in the world, just like everybody else, except you're insulated because it's not really you that the public interacts with. They see you, but they're interacting with however you're operating. And we just call it private. You could be operating in trust. Okay, you follow me? You could be operating as a nonprofit. You could be operating as an LLC, an LLP, sole proprietorship. There's many different ways you can get out there and move in the world and operate in private, in anonymity, with layers of protection for liability issues. So once you do get this accumulation of wealth from Aunt and Uncle Fred and Ethel, respectively, the Mertzes, you know what to do, you know how to act, you know how to move. If you get a trust from me, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I'm not tripping. If you want to go pay more, that's fine. I'm not tripping. If you want to go get one off scribed and wang dang sweet wang tang it to make it yours, knock yourself out. This is all about education, trying to get access to as much information to you, okay, that is the correct information. It's just not some willy foo-foo bullshit, some cookie head Jenkins crap that, is ineffective, or somebody created, or it's a half-step process or a three-quarter step process. Because there's not very many things out there that really, really work, because I've done most of them myself personally. And if I haven't done them, I know the people that are doing them or have done them. And you see the other pictures of all the successful people right here with me, right? That's how many there are. There's not very many. So if people are out there still pushing some process, some kind of education, and they're charging you hundreds and thousands of dollars to teach you this stuff, and they cannot put one person on the screen or on the phone or whatever for you to talk to face to face, one on one. Okay, I don't care about Facebook. For some reason, Facebook doesn't want to do live, so you're out of there, Facebook. Um, so that's what this is all about. That's what my guests that I'm going to have on today are going to talk about. You're going to have three different people. You're going to have three different things. None of them really are doing quite the same thing, but similar. I'm waiting on my first guest. But I was talking about Jeff. So, yeah, whenever Jeff decides he can break that chain, yeah, he'll be more welcome to come back on. You know, Jeff's an interesting guy because, listen, most of the audience, and I thought about this with, like, let me use Frank Z or Frank 26 for an example. Frank 26, he was tired of UB2B and said, "Oh, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do my own show on my own channel or whatever. And I'm leaving YouTube, I'm not coming back." Well, who came groveling back? Frank 26. Why did he come groveling back? Because, he just wasn't getting the views on his little private platform as he was on UB2B. Well, obviously, Frank's got to keep the ducks rolling in, the ducats, and he's got to fill that massive suit that he wears. I know those suits, man, they just have an ego all their own. So yeah, he came back. Of course, the audience came with him. And then, Mark, I was watching him this morning at my appointment, and I was like, damn, man, this dude's got 3,300 people like that. I mean, he just turns it on. 3,300 people are already there waiting on him. I was like, man, that's astonishing. What are those people going to be doing, after they accumulate all this wealth? Are they going to still hang out and start watch YouTube? Or are they going to be out enjoying life? Are you still going to come over here and watch? Because, a lot of the people that just strictly focus on the RV and the currency exchange and the Sarasara and whatever, Great Jubilee, they don't have anything else for an audience. They're going to talk about other stuff, but they're going to be doing their other stuff and they're going to be busy. Do they have time to even produce a show? This is why I told you folks, okay? Me personally, myself, I'm going to have a professional studio to do audio, visual, the whole 9 yards. Why? Because I'm in the entertainment industry. It's just, what I know. I would like to bring professional musicians in, put some together and produce some albums. That's just me. I want to be able to, I was talking to some technicians the other day when I was doing the State of the Airports luncheon at the George R. Brown, talking to them about cameras because I wanted to buy a professional camera that I can utilize in my studio as well as take it out to, a major motion picture film shoot and be on the same quality of camera that they're using to shoot, that I can have my own personal use. I can shoot behind the scenes, or I can shoot still shots, or I can video me being, filmed or whatever. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to do my show. I'm still going to do it. Still going to talk about various things. Still try to hold people accountable when I can, because there's no accountability in this country, in this state, in this county, in this city. I don't know what yours looks like, but, I'm in a cesspool of shit. That's just me. So let me get over here to the comments real quick as I wait on our first guest to come join us. All right. Spaceman Ost. I don't really understand that question. When is it starting? I'll start at high noon, sir. Okay, that's my first guest. He's almost ready. So let me and he had a second question. Do you have your possessions in a trust? If so, what kind of trust would you recommend? I don't have any possessions. My trust, my trusts, because I have several. Oh yeah, they're smack full of assets, not possessions, assets, as well as liabilities because I everything's in the trust. Me personally, I'm a broke ass Indian. I don't own anything. I'm homeless, carless, jobless. I'm not worth a shit. Now, you want to talk to my trusts? There, you're in a whole different stratosphere. What trust would I recommend? Now, I'm going to tell you, just like I tell everybody that I ever encounter, first phone call, first communications, I don't know what you know. I don't know what you don't know. I don't know what you filed or done and what you haven't done. I don't know what your goals are. More likely than not, you don't even know what your goals are. So this is what my advice, my guidance to everybody. I'm going to start using guidance instead of advice. My guidance to you, okay, is that try to figure out where your goals are. Write them down on a list and then prioritize those goals. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay. I need to bust a $2,000 nut every month to pay off my bills. Anything I make beyond that 2,000, that's gravy money. I can go to the mall, take my girl, guy out. I can put it in savings. I can invest it in crypto, silver. Can buy something on Fearless Floyd store. No, I'm kidding. Uh, how do I get that nut? Because if I get that nut, then I don't have to go work 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week for some people. So if I can figure out the pathway to get that and achieve that goal and pay that $2,000 off every month, or even get that a little bit lower so I didn't have to work as long, I would have more time to attain these other goals. So write down your goals, prioritize your goals. Then, if you know the pathway to achieve that goal, write that down, whatever that looks like. It's like, I need to go take Ann LaFleur's class because I want a private membership association. Boom, there you go. So you know the pathway. You know that the answer is $79 for that class. So the next thing underneath that might be, I want to create a trust. Well, how do I get a trust? I don't have any money, so I need one for free. So I'm going to go search the internet. I'm going to go to Google Scholar, or some free like Scribe, $10. You can go find a bunch of different trusts over there. Some of them are complex. Some of them are simple. You can utilize that method. Or it may be a Facebook group, or it may be a specific person, or a video that you need to go watch on Rumble or YouTube or some other platform. So create the pathway to achieve those goals and then start working on those goals. Set a timeline and say, hey, look, I want to get this by January 31st, 2025. Because if you don't set a timeline, you'll never reach that goal. So you should always be working to achieve those goals. Yesterday, I ordered a 32-inch by 48-inch 2025 calendar for all the months, all the days. The reason I did that is because my chiropractor, one of my chiropractors, she's a sports chiropractor. She travels all over the world. She does world championship kickboxing, MMA events, gymnastics events, and she's the chiropractor for all the athletes for that particular event. So she's traveling all across the world, across the United States, all times of year. So the squares for each day are the same size as a Post-it note. So whenever something changes for that day, she'll post it off and either rewrite it or add something to it and put it back up there. And she's able to look at her whole schedule. So I was like, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to get up there, and that way I can put my goals up there and I can see how close I am to getting to my goals, or how far away I am. Or if I'm like, oh, hey, I'm trying to get that goal, and I need to step on the gas to get there. So that's what I did for me. That's my own thing, but other people can use other things. And I have a guest in the background, and I know I need to get him on and get out of the way. I have a banner that's going to run down here in the bottom. Today, we're going to show you the upcoming schedule, which I've already showed you. So anything will be down here. I'll be running successive banners here. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first guest of the day to the show. I do have confirmation for 3 guests coming up. And this is the first one. Very well-known gentleman, especially by the U.S. Department of State, especially the Passport Office. I'm very honored, humbled, proud to call James C. Lovett my brother, my friend, my brother from another mother, co-conspirator. I love James to death. Good guy, good heart, good intentions, great show, great platform. If you need anything, be sure and hit James up. Tell him I sent you. Tell him you found me on the show. Without further ado, the infamous Bad Wolf, folks. How you doing?
What's going on, brother? How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And again, it's an honor to have you on the show as always. How you doing?
Pretty well, pretty well. I appreciate the acolytes there. And I see your guests that are coming up. It is fabulous. I love what you're doing with the platform. Once again, definitely my brother. I mean, I send people your way all the time. I hear nothing but good things about you. So for me personally, things are pretty well, pretty chill. I'm on vacation right now. Just taking a break from a whole year of doing nothing but consultations, putting out fires daily for people, helping them to learn how to do it for themselves. We've been winning court case after court case.
Let's digress a little bit because
okay.
I have a lot of new members of my audience who are over on the RV and currency side. They have no idea who Bad Wolf is. They have no idea who James C. Lovett is. So he's the bad boy when it comes to the passport process, but he's been delving into the right to travel within probably the last 18 months, hard and heavy.
Longer than that, but we didn't have it mastermind, if you will, until probably about that time.
Right. That's when it kicked off. So I'm going to give you the floor, tell everybody who you are, who your platform is, what you're all about, and then we can dive into your successes.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is James C. Lovett. I go by the Bad Wolf, or so I've been named. I basically got started in learning about the private side probably when I was about 9 years old. Long story short, I became an Eagle Scout, and in that time, I met my Scoutmaster. Actually taught me about the difference between the Maritime Admiralty flag, which is the American-looking flag with the gold fringes on there, and he explained that there is a difference between that and the unfringed American flag. So after learning that there is a difference there, and that there are basically different jurisdictions going on right around all of us as we speak that we don't even know about. It fascinated me, it sparked me, and so I started delving into everything from what is a state citizen to a national and living in the private and all this other stuff. So over the years, I just never put it down. And then one day I kind of got into, I was going to get a passport, so I got my passport. But the applications in those days had a section where it said, are you a state citizen? Or you could check off the box that said U.S. citizen. I thought that was weird. And so I asked the postal manager, what does this mean? And he said, well, a state citizen is somebody who's private and really, you can't vote for the president. And you just you want to stay out of the political atmosphere. And but a U.S. citizen is like all of us. So I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen. It's fine. Well, later on, I come to find out that a state citizen really means that what he said, but it also means if you were born in Florida, the term Floridian comes to mind, right? Or New York as a New Yorker, Wisconsin, Wisconsinite. Well, those terms have standing in law under GPO Styles Manual section 5.23, which means that we are all actually Native Americans and we are private, which is different than a US citizen who's public and a taxpayer. So over the years of going to the library, because I'm older than the internet, if you will, I talked to the librarians who know me very well down there, and they gave me tons of books on all this living in the private and just an amazing amount of information of things that I never heard about. You know, things like constitutional law is the superior law, and everything else that we're using on a daily basis is inferior to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. So over the years, I started finding other people in these niches, and God rest her soul, but Jackie Fig taught me about right to travel. It's like, what's right to travel? And she's like, well, if you really read the DMV's book, it actually explains that unless you're doing commercial activities like Uber or DoorDash on your way to work, you're not using your vehicle for profit. You're not using the American roads to gain compensation. And if you're not doing that, then you don't have to have a driver's license. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little crazy for me. So how do you just operate on the road? So over the years, I learned from her, watching her videos and whatever else, how to right to travel, how you can actually utilize your vehicle privately, and what the terms are, and how you have to make your vehicle actually private. You have to take things out of your name, put them into a private trust, which is also kind of, and one of the reasons and ways I found Floyd and Ann LaFleur, all marvelous people. You know, okay, I vouch for these people, and these people vouch for me. All right. So we started learning that. And then I started learning about how if you don't, you know, that taxes are optional. Taxes that you are charged on your employment are actually legally optional. You're making an election to pay those. You're just volunteering this money up. You don't have to, or you can even reduce it. Say you still want to pay and you just want to reduce what you're paying. There's one simple form for that. Or you don't want, then that led into, well, what about paying taxes on your house? Same thing. There are forms you can use to reduce or eliminate your taxes on your house. Well, what about buying things? Buying things is a little bit different because all of those businesses are subservient or sub-franchises of the state. Okay. So then we started learning about how to do that. Well, you can create a private trust or a faith-based entity, apply for a certificate of exemption, and get that from the state. So everywhere people kept coming to me and saying, Wolf, well, what about this? How can I deal with this problem, this scenario? I was like, well, let me take a look and read into this. Well, we got so good at it that we started winning court cases, and I've been winning court cases since I was 19 years old. And the judge actually asked me, he said, Mr. Lovett, are you studying or practicing law? And I said, no, I'm just doing this for fun. He goes, you do this for fun? I said, well, I was like, it's just a hobby of mine. He's like, I've never seen anybody beat my prosecutor in 25 years of my career. He says, all I know is you walk, talk, move, can handle yourself. You're dressed like a lawyer. Are you a lawyer? And I was like, no. He says, well, all I know is we would love to have somebody like you on our side. That's when I realized that there were sides and that there were things going on that we didn't know about. So essentially, my whole life has been dedicated to helping the average person learn these things. And over the years, of course, there, like Floyd said, there are some agencies and municipalities and lawyers and other officials out there who like to watch, you know, my channel and whatever else. But they have not been able to debunk any of it. So they take pot shots here and there, and that's okay because it's all fair in love and war. But what I have learned is that every place has what's known as a legal department. And that legal department teaches the very things that I teach, or should I say I learned what the legal department knows. And that's why we're able to not find like loopholes or whatever else. These are your freedoms and your rights. Okay, so it's all about jurisdiction and learning the codes and learning how to operate depending on which jurisdiction you're in, public, private, government, federal level, or state level with their corporation and their corporate codes. And then you start learning things like say you're in Florida, there's a difference between Florida state and the state of Florida. Those are two separate entities and two separate in the same geographical jurisdiction, but they're operating separate jurisdictions concurrently or on top of each other. So those are two separate things that most people think are the same thing. Same thing with the federal government. That's a whole different jurisdiction. And they're operating under the Constitution for the United States of America. So it's like, okay, and it just goes on and on. Nobody knows it all, but if you can learn any 1 or 2 or 10 areas, you can be proficient. I mean, I've battled with attorneys and lawyers. I've had judges, recuse themselves because they're like, yep, I don't want any part of this. Now, that doesn't mean that you can get out of every single thing like crimes and whatever else. What it means is that if you're operating privately and you have not done a crime, you are out of their jurisdiction. They can't see you and they will leave you alone. They also can't take your stuff if you put your things in a private or foreign trust. All right. That's why you've always heard wealthy people say things like control everything and own nothing. If nothing is in your name, they can't touch or take anything. And here's the thing. A lot of people out there are like, well, that sounds like some of that, sovereign citizen stuff. That's a oxymoron. Sovereign means to be a king or a ruler, self-contained and ruled, and citizen means to be property of the city or the city state. You can't be both. So they give people that term who are either purposefully trying to be against the government, which is not what we're about. We're just private citizens. There's a difference. Okay. So if you understand this information, it's knowing that you can bounce between either or. You can have your affairs on the public side, you can have your affairs on the private side. And I've actually had police officers contact me, people in some of the 3 name agencies contact me. I've had them actually ask me, can they do some of these things? I've had them in my seminars. So there are ones out there who are just totally against it, because if everybody knew this information, well, of course, people are going to be living private. Who would want to pay taxes on half these things if you don't have to? And if you read the IRS code, it tells you in there, taxes are optional. All these things are optional. There's no law that says you have to register your house, your kids, your property, yourself, your homes, or anything. There's not. It would be slavery. So that's a little bit about me, and it's a little bit about what we do. And as I was saying before, Floyd, yeah, we've had more successes. One guy won $500,000, one won $1.5 million in his case against Right to Travel. They pulled him over. He had everything correct. He sued them on the federal level, and people win. So it's all about retaking your privacy, your freedoms, your rights, and your liberties versus licenses and privileges and regulations. Now, that doesn't mean you can ignore the law by any means. It just means that when you're operating privately, you're in a capacity where, as long as you haven't broken the actual law, which is the Constitution, you're good to go.
And James is not giving medical, financial, or legal advice. So get that out of the way.
None of that. This is all for educational purposes only.
Right. Now, James cut his teeth on the passport process from the Colonel over at Copper Moonshine Still. James and the Colonel, they're good buddies. Colonel's not in any shape, form, or fashion upset or mad. They actually work together to streamline the process and improve the process for people. That's how we work in this movement, this little community. There's a handful of us that we know we can trust each other. When we send something that we've already vetted it, we know it's bona fide. Otherwise, we're not even going to waste our time sending it to somebody else. That's just how we roll. Okay. So you said that, of course, all taxes are voluntary. That includes, I know we're going to get a question. Does that include property taxes as well?
Property taxes. So what happens is, and just to get it out of people's minds, none of this is actually fraud. I don't like when people go around saying this is fraud. I had to learn everything from our side, the private side, the public side, to see how it all interfaces. And it's not fraud at all. The government actually knows what they're doing, and it's sanctioned within their jurisdiction. However, paying taxes is optional because you have the option to create like a private trust or a private entity that's not registered already, like our legal names are, to the state. And so when you put your property into a private entity, give it the ownership, but yet you control it because it is not registered to them. There's no law that says you have to register anything. They then have to recognize with the proper form that they have, which is the property tax exemption form every state has, that, oh, this is an entity that is not our property. It is now owned by something that's not ours. It's not a resident or a resident of the state. So we can't tax it like anything else. Like that's just how it goes. So when we get a house or a property, what we didn't know is that at that exact moment in time, we could have put or created a private entity to title the house in or to transfer it into before we take possession or after we take possession, but then update the property tax assessor that, hey, this house is owned by a private trust or a 508c1a faith-based entity, and I'm tax exempt. Or let me break it down for other people out there, even more simple. If churches out there can be and are tax exempt, which are 501c3s, okay, which you can do that. I don't recommend it, but you can do that. Then why couldn't you just create a private church structure with the IRS and then have your home be the church and not have to pay taxes? That's what they're doing. And that's what a lot of wealthy people do. They just aren't going around like me telling these things. So it's optional, but because we just speed through the process, we don't read the paperwork like a legal team does. We think, oh, this is what everybody does. Yeah, just sign here and pay your taxes. So we just do it. But yes, you can pay no taxes, or you can reduce, or if you want, you can pay more. You have no problem. You just have to file the correct paperwork.
Right. Now, on the real estate, I'm excuse that as a general term. People say house or property, but
right.
If you have an existing trust,
Mm-hmm.
you can purchase the real estate in the trust name. However, if you have an existing trust and you already have real estate, you have a lien or a mortgage or a loan against that property, or it's being held as collateral, you cannot put that real estate in the trust. Correct, James?
If you have okay, so as education only, right. If you have a mortgage and it has not been paid off, okay, and we've done this countless times. I'm not telling anybody what to do, just telling you what our experiences have been. You can transfer it, but you have to gift the house for $0 into your trust, because most contracts or agreements, mortgages, have a due on sale clause that if you sell it, you have to then pay off the bank before selling it to somebody else. So, but you do have the legal right to gift the house to the trust, but you still have to pay your obligation like you would normally. If you have a lien on the house prior, that can cause a problem because you've already pledged that asset to somebody. But most of the time you will find, and we don't have time to go into all of the aspects of fraud and whatever else, right. Most people will be surprised to find that though the bank talks about having the option of first lien, they actually have not filed a true UCC commercial lien on the property for certain reasons. But we can go into that at another time. So right. Generally, but if you have a lien that somebody has, and you've signed documents and it's been registered, or even if it's a private one, I'm not going to say you can't put it in there, but you can make it a little cumbersome if you have a viable legal lien in place. So you don't want to do any of that. We'll just say it gets real messy because you've pledged the asset.
All right, I'm gonna give everybody a quick visual on what James just described to you folks. Okay, and when you see this, you'll totally get it. It'll all click in your mind. You'll be like, oh, that's how he did that. Bishop Hilliard's Texas megachurch lists for $15 million mansion for sale. The New Light Christian Center Church in Spring, Texas, which is just north of me, has placed a massive estate on the market with a listing price of $15 million. The house spans 24 acres and includes 6 separate houses. Okay, so y'all want to see what this bad boy looks like? Y'all see those pictures?
I don't see anything on it.
Yeah, StreamYard doesn't like to click tabs and share.
Bam. Oh,
This is the big main house, and these are the little side houses they have: swimming pool, tennis courts, sand volleyball.
wow.
Uh-huh. Look at that. Two rain. And he lives here. It has 2 kitchens, folks. I mean, you're looking at, 4 kitchens actually. So what he does is the church owns this. He lives there, and he utilizes it for church conferences. So now he's retired. He's given the church over to his daughter. So now she's running everything. I guess she doesn't want that property. That's a beautiful piece of property almost in Houston, just right outside of Houston. But that is how they live wealthy. He doesn't own anything. He's just a poor pastor, but lives in all this opulence that the church owns. That would be your 501(a) or your 501, or however you want to roll or operate. So that's your visual on what James is talking about. That's impressive, huh?
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Yeah. And I have a good buddy named Dr. Ed Group who wants to do something very, very similar. So I hit him with that, but that's a whole nother conversation. So let's dive into these right to travel issues that you're addressing, you're assisting with, or it's a former student or peer who's reached out there and touched someone in a financial manner.
So right to travel is basically that the Supreme Court has ruled, which they call opinions. So their court cases after they're done are called opinions, that we, the American people, have a right to operate our vehicles privately. But what does that really mean? So if you look at Black Law's Dictionary, which is their books for all legal language, this is what the judges use and lawyers, this is their book. This book is different than Webster's, which is what we use as Americans. All right. So they have their own book, same words, but in their books, there's different definitions. One of those words is the word drive. The word drive on the legal level and in their books means to operate your vehicle for profit in commerce. Even the word traffic means to be making profit amongst other people out there making profit. So when you understand the laws and you've read the Supreme Court cases and the federal lawsuits like I have, you understand that if you do everything correct, yes, you can use your vehicle privately. This would entail, for most of us, and this is education, so I'm not telling anybody to do anything. There's a full course I have on steps and everything on my YouTube channel, which is The Bad Wolf, on YouTube, or you can find my website, which is jamesclovett.com or badwolfunincorporated.com. You will start to understand that it's giving up the driver's license. Okay, that's number one, is returning the driver's license. Number two is then also creating a private trust, something foreign, okay, something not registered, as the entity that is going to own the vehicle, but yet you control it like a trust. Okay, so you control that entity. You would then update the DMV, let them know that the vehicle is now owned or has been gifted to this private trust. That name, okay, because it's not registered as a U.S. citizen or a U.S. company or a resident of their state or the states, is then foreign to them legally. Doesn't mean like it's, something weird or crazy. It just means legally it's in a different jurisdiction. That's all it means. Once you do that, you can then go ahead and create your own plates. If you want to create your own private ID, you put your plates on your vehicle and you travel down the road. Now, if you notice, I said travel. Why? Because private people travel. People who are in commerce, U.S. citizens, drive. And I know some people out there would say, oh, well, that's just semantics. But the problem with that is that in their dictionary, and we've won multiple court cases on this, they are different things. See, when you own something, you get to decide the name of it. And if you can name something, you can give it a definition. So whereas a police officer will come up to a car and he might say, oh, this is a motor vehicle. Well, motor vehicle means this is a commercial vehicle. My vehicle is an automobile and I'm doing private travel. Okay. But see, you can't just say that, and don't download these little internet packets. Oh, I can do right to travel now. I got the packet, because your vehicle is still in their computer. They can still find your name. So you have to update things and make sure all of your T's are crossed and all of your I's are dotted. All right. Once everything has been done and you've removed everything properly and you've made all of your notifications on the public side, the private side, you've even maybe exported your vehicle, okay, with your own documents or theirs out of their jurisdiction. Okay, like for me, I sent mine to the DOT and to the DMV and said this vehicle is now being exported out of the US, okay, for legal reasons. Once you have done everything, the only thing that they have to go on is your VIN. Once they run the VIN, they're going to see the name of the entity that owns it. And if the police officer cannot run that name in his database, his secondary system, and say, oh, you're a resident of mine, he can't ticket you. Now, this doesn't mean this is a get out of jail card free, or that you can just go around speeding and do whatever else, because you're still being endangering public safety. And they have the law on their side that if you are endangering, they can stop you. They still can arrest you. They can't do anything. But if you're just trying to be left alone and not have your vehicle registered, you want to operate and travel privately, yes, you can do these things. We've won numerous court cases on these things. And I have it on good account, excuse me, from a former student whose client, his daughter is a sheriff. And she reported back that they were doing seminars, and one of other police officers mentioned, hey, what about those people out there with those fake plates and doing, operating as, right to travel or whatever else? And the guy who puts on this for all of the sheriffs and police officers, whatever else, he said, look, if you see these people out there and they're not doing any damage or endangering public safety, they have a right to do that. So leave them alone. He said, but if they're operating irresponsible, they seem drunk or whatever else, then yes, do your normal job and detain them, because that's what a police officer can do. So they know what we're doing, but here's the thing. There's always ups and downsides, right? So I keep everything 100% with everybody. The downside is you might meet a cop who doesn't understand what you're doing. He doesn't understand what that is. He still has to respect and obey the computer. So you have to make sure that everything is done properly. Otherwise, you will be operating as what they call a sovereign citizen, meaning you're trying to be free, but my computer says you're still in my jurisdiction, and you can't have both. You have to be all the way out in this regard or all the way in. You can't really do both. All right. It's confusing, and lowest common denominator brings you back into their jurisdiction. So what a lot of people will do is they'll do the passport process, okay, because when you do it the proper way, it has been referred to as you're being placed on what's known as the do not detain list, which simply doesn't mean you can't be arrested. It means that when they run that ID, it shows that you are private and outside of their jurisdiction. So as long as you have everything done proper, they're not going to be able to do anything as long as they obey the law. And if they don't understand this superior constitutional law, then they need to refer to their commanding officer so that they don't commit a federal felony in that moment.
Okay. Now, you gave a lot of people a lot of information, a lot of self-inflicting ammunition is what I call that. Because if you don't comprehend everything that he just explained to you, don't do it. Because you're going to get out there, you're going to leave a back door open, a loophole, because you haven't mastered the complete process. Because most people, once you start getting educated, you think you know more than the cop because you know the laws and the cop doesn't. And you're going to start debating on the side of the road and get to an argument and try to educate this law enforcement officer. No, 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 no. What you're doing on the side of the road is you're documenting everything because they're recording it, you're recording it. So you're trying to get him in a position to where when I get this guy on the stand under oath, he's going to look like a moron. That's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to debate him, but you're giving him these questions where he can't answer. He doesn't know the answer. And he's going to look like a fool later when you play this video in front of a jury or in front of the prosecutor and go, really? You're going to prosecute that? Because I'm taking you to court on a 1983 and I'm going to win.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing. So do not go to Amazon and start printing you up some private plates and slap them on your car and peel your registration inspector sticker off and knock out a headlight and go running around dirty, as we like to call it.
No, I've got at least 3, 4, or 5 videos, including one that's 3 hours, where we talk about every step, every single thing. I give you guys a brief executive summary of it, but you're talking about things, such as, having a travel binder, one in your vehicle, one, at your home with all of your information, showing that you've closed out because there's a special form you can get to close out your driver's license. And then you got to make sure that you have your title and paperwork just like normal, but it has to be in the name of the vehicle. I've went as far as to create an affidavit of being a non-resident. Now, why would that be something that you might need? Because under my particular state's code, in order to operate your vehicle, it says non-resident registration. Okay, so just like back in the day, they asked us to prove residency, that we have the ability to be there. We can also take away our own ability. We can bob back and forth. I'm a resident, I'm not one. So for me, when I looked up our code, which is 341.40, and that's one of the things you need to know. You need to know your state's code, their legislative code, on what you're doing by heart. And underneath that code, the very first thing it says that any vehicle that is registered to another state, okay, in this case, the state is my trust, all right, it must have the name of that jurisdiction on the top of the plate, and it can be exempt from all of the laws of this state. But you have to then operate that vehicle as a non-resident. So the trust itself is actually the non-resident. I just went a step further, okay, by creating an affidavit that I'm also one. And I'm not recommending to do all of this. I just like to make sure that I'm completely out so they have no leg to stand on. So for me, I have renounced my U.S. citizenship while retaining my citizenship as a Wisconsinite or a national, all right, because you are born with both of them. And I actually just made a video on this. It's under 8 FAM 300, where they talk about most other places, nationality and citizenship are the same thing, but not here. Under 8 Foreign Affairs Manual, Section 300, it says that we have both. Also under 8 USC 1101, 22A and B, it depicts that we have both. And for a lot of people out there, if they don't know about that, oh, well, you said Floridian in California, that's a thing. Well, that's provable that it has standing in law in the government's printing or government publishing office manual, GPO style manual, 2000, 2016, get any of those. Scroll down to section 5.23, and it says the natives of the states. We are the natives of the states when we use the proper terminology. Floridian, Texan, New Yorker, these have standing. So that is your private side. So yes, you can operate privately, but like Floyd said, I would recommend watching all of my videos on Right to Travel. You can Google or YouTube search Jackie Fake. She's got a video. Uh, White lady, red hair. The video is 52 minutes and 17 seconds. It's the longer version. Watch the whole thing. She'll step you through all the things that she did. Now, since then, because we have been successful in what we're doing, they have decided to go, okay, well, we're not going to just let people just make their own plates and slap them on the vehicle. So they've stepped up how they respond and deal with people doing this. That's why for me, I got harassed probably 3 times until I got it right, because I followed her method. I was fine for a while. Then all of a sudden, I started getting pulled over by some of these cops who wanted to overstep, who didn't understand what was going on. And understand this, even them stopping you when a crime hasn't been committed is a problem. It's a violation of your constitutional right. So working with them, okay, because even my neighbor's a retired police officer, and I've got friends and family who are police officers. So none of this is like, oh, I'm secretly doing this stuff. They all know what I'm doing. All right. So, but you have to make sure that you have everything done right. You've contracted in. Everything that they've done to us has been by contract. Okay. So you must uncontract or break the contracts where you see fit. All right. And that doesn't mean you have to do every process somebody talks about out there. Doesn't mean you have to break every single contract you have with the state or the government. It's not what we're saying that by any means. We're totally not against the government or any of those things or the states. It's all just business. You have the ability to just decide if you want to do business with them here, there, at all, or across the board. It's your choice. What they don't want you to realize is that you in your private capacity as a private citizen are actually their boss. Okay? And what I mean by that is that we created the Constitution. The Constitution grants them the ability to do what they're doing. So we are the creators. It is the creation. The creation cannot be more powerful than the creator. So they're operating their own jurisdiction. All right. And we have been pulled into it. I don't know how much far you want me to go into all this stuff, Floyd, but
well, I just want to give you an introduction because I do have a bunch of new audience members over here who are very unfamiliar with you. They kind of know about the sovereign citizen, U.S. national, SUKV trust, all that stuff, but they really don't know the minutia of it. I know I profile a lot of right to travel, sovereign citizens, American state nationals, their encounters with law enforcement, what that looks like. USFL covers a lot of it as well. But I want to give an introduction to my audience so we can send some grace over your way, kind of let them know what's going on with you, because generally this is my downtime part of the year too. I usually take November, December, and come back up in mid-January. But I decided to, because of my house flooding, that set me off. So I took my month off early. But I'm going to Puerto Rico soon. And
nice.
Hey, guess what else I found out today? If you're on parole in Texas, you can actually get a permit to leave the country, which means I can go to Mexico or somewhere else. That used to not be a thing, and now it's a thing. And the world is my oyster. Yeah, I've got a couple minutes left in your segment, and I want to give everybody about 30 minutes, 30 minutes. Come on here. So tell everybody how to find you, what you have available, your website. I've already done a screen share and showed most of it, but let's hear it from James Wolfe and give us a closing. And let me ask you this, because I have not heard from him. How's A6? Have you talked to him lately?
Last I heard, recovering still. He said it's going to be a slow-ish process, but that so far is okay. Seems like he's getting a little bit better. So, okay. But yeah, it's been a little, daunting. A little, like anybody else going through certain things or whatever else. So, but prayers and positive energy to him and his family. So, he'll get there.
Everybody, if y'all don't know who A6 Grind Time is, the foreign national, born national over on YouTube. Go look him up. A_6 grind time, like you're grinding every day. Go check him out. Go give him some support. Say a prayer for him today, tonight, tomorrow, whenever. He really needs all the positive energy that we can send towards him. He's one of the good guys in this movement. So he's actually stayed with me in my house before. So he's been a guest. We've broken bread together. He's a brother just like James is to me. And I appreciate it. So, James, give us a closing and tell us more about you. And you have the floor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I thank everybody who's watching. And all I can tell you is to keep an open mind. When I first came on board learning this information, as somebody who's still an Eagle Scout, I am pro everything American, very a patriot. I was like, this information can't be true. Or I found out that it actually is true. And then I found out that some people are misusing the information for their various little private nations, and they're, against the GOV or whatever it was. So what I wanted to do, and I've been ripped off by these people. I've bought a ton of their packages and, all this stuff. And I found out that some people are telling the truth. Some are telling the truth, but they're putting extra things into it. I've lost lots of money over the years. I'm not even going to lie. So, but I learned from all of those scams and con artists and whatever else that there is truth there. And I recommend to everybody to do their own searches. You can definitely learn a lot from me. I do not hide anything. I just like to have people learn the truth. And if this doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Do your own thing, keep doing your own life. But if you really want to know what's going on in America, and if you've ever been curious why, like, the District of Columbia is not one of the stars on the American flag, what's with those flags with the gold fringes? Why is my name in all capitalized letters on these letters? Why, when I went to the bank, they told me to go home and get that mail piece with my name in all capitalized letters and the zip code on there to prove residency? What does the Constitution really say? Why are they trying to take away our rights? Those are the things that I teach over there. I teach constitutional law and private law and things of that nature. So if you want to learn, you can find me at The Bad Wolf on YouTube, or you can just type in James C. Lovett on YouTube or The Bad Wolf. Any combination, you'll find me on there. My website is BlackSite32, BLACKSITE 32.com, or else badwolfunincorporated.com or jamesclovett.com. Any of those, you guys can find me there. And I've seen the comments, a lot of people already know who I am. And thank you, Denise, as well, she said, thank you for your work. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'm kind of like the redheaded stepchild when it comes to the government and all that. Like Floyd was saying, they do watch my channel. They have reached out to me. They have made updates and changes along with Cornell Law EDU. And apparently a lot of the judges and lawyers know who I am as well, because of our successes here. So I'm just a person who fights for your rights. But like I said, when I first got started, anybody who talked like I talk now or like Floyd does, I thought they were crazy. I thought they were against the government or the states. I just didn't understand it. And I was challenged. A guy told me, he's like, I understand you feel some type of way, but feelings don't mean anything in law. Read the Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence, read the Bill of Rights, and you will find that that is your private side. Those are your rights. But what the states are doing is they're making you a member of theirs with that all capitalized name, which is a legal person, which is separate and distinct from you. It's like having a company and then like Nike or something, no affiliation, and then renaming Nike your name or James C. Lovett. That's what they did. They gave you a company, essentially a business trust to operate. So when you don't operate correctly, you're in breach of the trust. So, but you can find me guys over there once again on blacksite32.com. Happy holidays to those people who celebrate. Anybody else, may whatever God you believe in have mercy on your soul. Take care of yourself, stay healthy, and just keep an open mind. And above all else, even if this information is not for you, just stay healthy and live the best life you guys can. Positive energy to everybody.
Thank you very much, sir. Happy holidays to you too. Happy New Year. Be safe. And I want your life.
You are like 2 steps behind me, if even. All right. So,
When I get over to Puerto Rico, I'll send you a postcard.
oh, now I'm jealous of you.
Yeah. My friends at Sky Pony Gallery in Plano, I'd like to set something up for January. That's why I told you I got this big calendar so I could start looking at it and we can start doing some live seminars. So James would definitely be a part of that. Fly him in and have a good time. All right. Thank you, sir, for being here, man. It's always an honor and pleasure to pick your brain, hear your story and your wisdom and your knowledge.
Yours
And
as well, good brother.
yeah, we'll have you back on, do a whole show with you after the new year. Is that fine?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, I should be back somewhere mid-January. I'll be back on. I'm still doing consultations here and or there, but just kind of need some time to woo-saw after putting out fires every day for the whole year. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So thank you to Bub out there, Denise, Blue Sky, Beningo, and the rest of you guys. I appreciate your support, and thank you for giving me your ear. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Oh, and congratulations, because I don't know if you noticed, you're approaching 5 million views on YouTube.
YouTube just told me that, yeah, and we're at 76,000 subscribers and think another 30,000 unsubscribed but viewing people. So we're getting there. So much for trying to stay under the radar.
You are the radar.
So I guess the wolf is out of the bag or out of the cave at this point in time. So
that's astonishing.
That's okay. Everybody needs to take a little bit of this knowledge from me and from Floyd and people that we recommend, because we try to stay as a family and promote each other, and iron sharpens iron. Okay. And these are everybody's rights and freedoms. But if you guys don't want them, that's fine, because that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you don't have to look for them. You don't have to use them. Keep doing whatever you want to do. But if you do want to know more, here's you know, you guys are in the right place at the right time in history, because we're making changes. I'm seeing the government actually now starting to put the term national on their applications. They're starting to fully recognize, okay, yeah, this guy is right. You know, which is a little weird.
This is our chance. Okay. I think right now at this 2025, 2026, this is our chance to get a foothold in there and push that door. We got the door open a crack, because believe me, all those MAGA folks over there, most of them are QAnons. So they know about the trust, the straw man, the birth certificate. They know all that, but they can't come out and say it because it's a conspiracy. They don't want to be labeled sovereign citizens, but they know. So it's our chance right now to, like I said, to don't stop our, keep our foot on the gas. We got to keep this thing floorboarded, get what we want. All right, James, thank you very much. I'm going to bring on the next guest, and I appreciate you. I'll see you in June. Happy New Year, everybody.
You too. Take care, everybody.
And there you have it. The infamous, illustrious, brilliant mind, James C. Lovett, aka the Bad Wolf. And don't get him confused with those scammers over there that like to piggyback on the wolf name, because there's a few out there that aren't genuine. But Bad Wolf, he's the real deal, the real McCoy. I look forward to having him back on the show. As I got when I got out of prison, I didn't, all I knew was what information I had in prison. So when I got out, the internet was a whole new thing. Facebook was, I'd never seen Facebook before. We had, what was it? My Story, My Book, whatever it was, back in the day when I first got locked up in 2002. So when I got out in 2016, there's this just chasm of technology that I had to catch up on. So when I got out here, all I knew was a redemption manual process, sovereign citizen, Gene Keating, all that stuff. So I didn't know who was who. So as I moved through the internet, I started discovering these new people, these new entities, went through all the bullshit and started reaching out to some of these people who I thought were more knowledgeable than myself. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Get out of that room. Go find somebody smarter where you can learn from. So you can sit back and listen and learn. So that's what I did. And, immediately I was like, well, I don't know everything. I thought I knew everything, but apparently I'm a dumbass and don't have a clue what the hell I'm doing. I just learned everything that I had, and that was insufficient to move forward. So I started reaching out to people who were more knowledgeable than me, who had their own little expertise in some niche category, like Passport, James C. Lovett. I had his information sent to me before I even knew who James was. I had no idea who James Lovett was, a bad wolf or anything. And I reached out, and we've, established a relationship, and, we consider ourselves brothers. We talk intimately about our own personal activities and relationships, what we go through mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So we provide each other with that support because we do the same thing every day. We are kind of like if you don't know what a heat sink is, a heat sink is generally like a block of aluminum that's on something that produces a lot of heat, that if it contains that heat, it'll overheat and malfunction. The heat sink sucks in all that heat and cools it down so it can operate at a maximum level. So what we are, James and myself, and I'm sure there are others out there, we're like these heat sinks. We're a conduit. And I'm not going to say we get, all negative, but we hear the horror stories. Because generally, by the time you get to me with your story, you've already paid somebody, you've already done the bullshit, you're at the rope, the knot's untied at the end of the rope, and you're hanging by one thread of that rope by the time you get to me. And there's just tons of knots that you've been tying in this rope, and I've got to untie all those knots to get to the top, which sucks. So it takes a lot of it stresses your emotions, your sanctity, your spirituality, your rationality to read some of the stories that you guys send us in emails and texts, and et cetera, et cetera. So we're kind of like a heat sink, and we absorb all this minutia of other people's issues, their drama, their baggage, and it accumulates on us. And by the time it's the end of the year, we need to go vomit all that up. We need to get it out of our skin, our pores, our constitution. So that's kind of what we do towards the end of the year and the holidays, because holidays are a slow time of year anyway, because people are doing other things. That we need to regenerate, get our constitution back, get that eagerness, that motivation, that courage, that tenacity to continue to move on, to want to wake up every morning and answer texts and answer emails and help people any shape or form or fashion that is within our ability to achieve for you. So that's kind of what James is going through. I went a little long on that. I have my next guest backstage. I'm presenting these guests to you individually for a reason. Because I want to segment this show, and I want to do some shorts. So I didn't want them all on together, talking over each other, or, whose way is the right way, whose way is the wrong way, because there is no right way or wrong way. There's just a success and not a success. Okay. You either succeed or fail. If you fail, you continue till you succeed, or you completely drop out of the race. So that's why I did that. Jesse was behind me like, hey, he wanted to chime in when Jane was on, but that's not how I'm going to roll with this. This is to introduce you to three personalities who are on the pathway to doing different things. They have different reasons, and I wanted to bring that out to you. James has been in the game since he was a child, when he got turned on to that yellow fringed flag, and that piqued his curiosity. I would say he's a prodigy, because if you knew his story, especially about his affiliations with the Masons and Freemasons, yes, he's a Mason, and he'll tell you all about it. There's no secrecy about him being a Mason or his affiliation with the Mason Lodge. or Masonic lodges. So yeah, Blue Sky Eon too. So my next guest, he's been on my show before. He used to have his own segment every Thursday at high noon on the High Noon Show with Eric Nichols, Cite Your Authority. I personally just burned out doing the High Noon Show at that time, just overstressed, overworked, too much other stuff going on in my life. And we dissolved everything, and I've started anew. Now, I've accumulated some new audience members. Those of you who have come over from Mark, from Jeff Rom, or whomever, and you have no idea who these folks are. So I'm reintroducing my former and past guests. Some of them have had a segment on my show previously, like my next guest. And they came on at 1 o'clock, and they were supposed to run till 5. Sometimes we went till 8. We just ran these long ass shows. The problem with those is, who has time to sit down and listen to a 7-hour show? Nobody. I don't edit videos. I don't have an editor. It costs money to get your stuff edited. It's very time consuming to edit videos, and you have to have a PC or some type of device with a lot of horsepower to edit videos, because when you're editing a video, it eats up so much of your computing system that it's hard to do other tasks that, especially StreamYard. I couldn't do a video edit in StreamYard at the same time. It would eat up all the bandwidth, and StreamYard would crash. So it happens all the time. Let me kick that one out. And I don't know why. All right. So for those of you who've hung around, let me pop this up real quick from Blue Sky. Floyd, as you know, courts in Texas don't listen. They don't care about jurisdiction. Look, I beat up Texas all the time. I go all the way to the top to Governor Greg Abbott, lately Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who wants to shut down all THC sales for CBD. He wants to kill that whole industry in Texas. He's a moron. Ken Paxton. I call everybody out in the state of Texas. To me, they're all treasonous because they haven't been fixing the southern border. They had $60+ billion the last legislative session, and they were like, oh, well, what do we do with all this money? Well, you hire an army and you go down there and close off that border. Well, 2 years later, what does Greg do? He sends the National Guard down there. So I can go into all this. Now, I've clearly expressly said repeatedly that the Texas court system, the 14 courts of appeals, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the Texas Supreme Court, all those judges and justices, they could care less about the Texas Constitution. I really do literally think that they have toilet paper in their office and at home that's the Texas Constitution that they wipe their ass with. That's how much respect that they give the Texas Constitution here in Texas in the justice system. So my next guest, he's also on a journey in the private side. He has a subscription to Westlaw online, so he's constantly studying the law, studying case law, acts, treaties, etc., etc. He's a wealth of information. He's a truck driver, so he travels all across the country, and basically he speaks to people all day, every day, and that's his livelihood aside from his means of income, which is a CDL. So without further ado, don't see his image, but probably get his audio, because I know he's having some AV issues. I am proud to welcome to the stage Brian Robertson, fondly known as Pastor of the Way. And as you see, Basilikos Nomos Institute is his organization. Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I have time getting the microphone to freaking work.
Yeah, I
Much
know.
less anything else.
Right. Yeah, StreamYard's kind of wonky.
Yeah, I agree with most of what James was saying. My dad, he uses private plates.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody who
Which
you are, what you're all about.
you've seen the private plates he's got. I've shared them with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Pri- private is a mindset.
Now, hang
And
on,
you
hang on,
touched,
Brian.
okay.
Brian, tell
Okay.
everybody who you are, what your
Okay.
platform is, how they can find you,
I'm a,
et cetera, et
I'm an,
cetera.
I'm an ordained minister, and I started, I started an organization because people have questions. People know things don't make sense. And I got tired of these groups when people would jump into these different groups online. They would ask simple questions, logical questions. And they would say, oh, don't talk about that here. Only concentrate on this process. And I told them, I said, y'all forgot where y'all came from. At one time, y'all had these questions. So I started my organization to give the people the ability to find answers. And that's what I do, help people find answers. Because what you said near the end, there is no one magic process. Everybody's on their own path. You got to figure out your path. And when you figure out your path, the answers will come.
Exactly. That's
And
what he.
yeah, and I started my own online church, and it is a church. It's a non 501c3. It is it's been created through a reputable church organization. Got my church affiliation and my congregational affiliation and all that. So I kind of hold myself to a fiduciary duty because I am a pastor. So
Well, tell everybody, where your platforms are and what you
I
do as
have
far as your classes.
I have Basilikos Nomos Institute, and it's online. It's on YouTube, on Rumble. I don't do as much on Rumble as I do on YouTube, but I we're now implementing we're now implementing um, Bible study classes. Those will be free. Now, yes, I do a membership because I need help paying for Westlaw because it's not cheap. And I use their stuff to help you learn. I pull from their own resources, like um, James said, it's not fraud. They literally publish everything. You can go to govinfo.gov, look up the statutes at large. They tell you everything that they've done all the way back to 1789. You got the congressional records, you got the Code of Federal Regulations, and you have the how are the Code of Federal Regulations created? What is that? Begins with an F. I know you know what it is. When they're
CFR.
no, not the CFR. What's put out before the CFR? It begins with an F, and I can't think of it right now. It's the publications they put out where they let you go out and make comments on them. I can't think of what they're called right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But they publish everything. So how can it be fraud if they publish everything? It's not. The problem is we are not reading it. We're not studying it. And I look at things like in Joshua 1:8 where it says to study the law because through that you will make your way prosperous. And most people take the Bible and most of the churches will teach you, oh, that's talking about just the Bible. No, think of it. What was the statutes and codes of Joshua's day when he wrote that? That was the Torah, the first 5 books. What's the statutes and codes of our day? We got state codes, we got federal codes. Those things are there to represent the person. What you said earlier, there's many ways to operate in the system. You can operate through the Fourth Amendment says what? The right of the people to be secure in their persons. The person is what you create, right? Did you create an LLC? Did you create a trust, partnership, all of that stuff, right? So that is your person that you're doing to operate in this system. That is your monopoly piece. When you go play Monopoly, are you the hat, the dog, the boat? When you pick that piece, does that make you that, or are you the agent of that? No, you're the agent that moves it around the board. It's the same thing in our system. Look at most of the laws that are written. It'll say in the business laws, it'll say the director, officer, agent, or person. Why do they say agent all the time? So I started getting into this because I started like everybody else. Yeah, authorized agent, no liability. Correct. The agent never has liability if the agent is doing their duty. Okay. When the agent stops doing their duty properly, now the agent becomes liable. No, not the Federalist Papers. It's you can go on. If I could think of what it's called right now, you could go. They put comment sections like the FMCSA. They'll put it out. Federal Reporter. I think that's what it's called. I'd have to look.
Now, federal reporters,
No, that's the
the
court cases.
yeah, that's the
Federal Register. The
okay,
Federal
yeah,
Register. Yes, that is how the Code of Federal Regulations are created. They will put out the Federal Register and let the people comment. What is your input? You know what I'm saying?
right,
Almost nobody goes and comments on it. So why? So you need to be involved. Go comment. Go read it. Get an understanding of it. Comment because they're going to look at those comments. Now, look at them and do anything about it. Yeah, that's debatable. But you cannot operate in this system without a person. You, the man, have always been in the private. You can't get on the monopoly board without that piece. We keep trying, as men and women, trying to go into the system to operate, and we're getting in trouble. Yeah, you need a game piece. Ain't that what the wealthy do?
absolutely,
The the wealthy do everything through a person. A person will be an S corp, C corp, LLC, trust, holding company, you name it. An avatar. Good way to put it. Yes. Somebody on YouTube said avatar. Speaking of which,
right,
they put everything in the movies, don't they?
yeah, absolutely,
So yeah, I don't agree with a lot of things that are said out there in the community. I don't get into the gold fringe flag because I've got a copy of the 1925 Attorney General opinion letter that says it's pure prerogative of the president and it doesn't have any special meaning. Who's right? You know what I'm saying? Is it the maritime argument or is it the Attorney General? I look at it, hey, it's their words. I'm not going to argue with them. If they say there's nothing to it and I can't prove in court any other way, I can prove that, right?
right,
It's kind of like one of my friends, he's an attorney. He says, look, I didn't say it. Y'all did. Use their words against them.
absolutely,
So there is a way to operate. You just got to change your mindset. Even Jesus said in the Bible to renew your mind daily.
yep, absolutely. So, where are you at now as far as your journey in this process, and kind of explain to people where
I,
where are you going?
I actually don't mind talking to them anymore because now that I know what my relationship is to that person that gave us, because the Social Security Trust is a person. It is a U.S. citizen, but is that piece of paper you? No, it's not. It's their creation. Didn't Jesus say, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's and unto God that which is God? Well, Caesar made that stuff. Who made you? Right?
Yep,
So, so I talked to him. I said, look, y'all own that name. Not me. It says on the back of your card, y'all own it, right?
yep,
Okay. And they tried to tell me, I got a video on my YouTube channel where the lady I was talking to at Social Security, she said, no, we own the account. I said, ma'am, have you ever created an account without a name? And I said, the company that owns the account owns the name attached to the account. Under the law of names, when you have a Verizon account, a Power Bill account with those account numbers, those names in those accounts, these are separate entities. Who owns that name and that account for that entity? The company you contracted with. You have a right of use. There's a difference. You don't have ownership, you have a right of use. Because if they want to close your account down, can they do it? Yeah, because why? You cannot interfere with the right to contract. If they decide they don't want to do business, they don't have to.
Right.
If you owned it, they couldn't shut it down, right?
Yeah.
And James is right. It's learning how to contract. Learning how to contract with the other parties. Most people don't even read their contracts, do they? Because of what I teach on contracts, one of my members, Mark, he sat down at the hospital. He had to get a normal checkup because he's up there. He's in his 50s. He already knew the checkup was covered by the insurance company, but he said, I want to see the contract. He sits down, takes his time, and reads it line by line. And it had one little section in there that said, even though the insurance company may pay the bill, we may still bill you $1,500. He takes a pen, marks it out, initials beside it, hands it back to him. In contract law, that's called the blue pen rule. Okay. Hands it back to him. He never gets a bill. The lady he handed it to said, we have never, in her 20 years of working there, had anybody ever read it. He never got a $1,500 bill. We got to learn how to start reading, and not just reading it to take a cursory look, but reading it with the intent to understand it. We don't usually read with the intent. I know I'm
Wow.
guilty of it.
Right.
I mean, look how many apps we've downloaded in the last since the invention of the smartphone, and we just hit agree, and then complain later that they're doing what they're doing with the information. Well, if you didn't want them to do that with the information, you shouldn't agree to a contract and gave them your information.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, where are you? Where's your end destination with all this, or do you have one?
Yeah, I think everybody's destination is the same. They want to reach a certain point where they don't feel like they're getting abused by the system, right? Well, the only way you're going to do that is change your competency. There is no such thing as status correction. It is competency correction. Do you think the wealthy and the elite worry about half the stuff that's taught out there? You talked about David Straight. He runs around talking about the Act of 1871 and this, that, and the other. But the Act of 1871 was repealed in 1874. It's right in the statutes at large. So if it was repealed, where's that the issue? So I look at it like this: learning how to contract with them appropriately to where they say, yeah, he can make us pay him. We're going to leave him alone. Well, the destination, yes, ultimately is to be in the presence of the Creator. Yes, or call it heaven. Ultimately, that is it. But that comes after death, because it is appointed unto once. It's appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. But that being said, so my end goal is just to get things set up appropriately. I've already got a letter from the Social Security Administration that says I'm the authorized representative for that entity.
Right.
There's my agency. And it even says on that letter that I'm not even the guarantor for the account. I really was surprised when they actually agreed to send me that letter.
Okay. So
Because I backed them into a corner. They couldn't deny that that's theirs. Well, if it's yours and it's not mine and you're needing me to use it, then the only thing I can be is the representative of it. I can't be anything else. So why are you harassing me over it? Am I wrong?
no, not at all. Nope, not at all.
I got a court case on my Telegram chat page. It says the driver's license and the birth certificate is not evidence of your legal name. And the court went on to say they're not even going to say you have a legal name or a name with legal effect.
Right.
Outside of the one you have chosen. When did you choose to be that entity? You didn't. It was created before you was even aware of its existence. It was created without your knowledge. And people will say, well, but my mother created it. No, go look up SS form 2853. The hospital requested it, not you. The SS5 tells the Social Security who to send it to, not who's requesting it.
Okay.
So they just call you a number holder. They don't call you the owner.
Right.
Just a number holder.
Yep. So, I'll ask you this question because you've been in this for a hot minute, like myself, and
Yeah.
you pretty much know who all the movers and shakers are. You can pick up your phone and call them like I can.
Yep.
Out of all these, gurus, talking heads, social media influencers, they're over here in the private side and doing all these different processes. Do you personally know of anybody who has access to their trust or a white card or black card, whatever that looks like?
Personally, no, because it's not your trust. Who created it? Who created Social Security? Didn't Congress? 1935.
Yeah.
They
Well,
created
yeah.
it as a trust. So you've heard the maxim floating around: what one creates, one controls, right? I've got court cases of people that's tried to access it and collapse it, and they got charged with paper terrorism because it's not yours. I've got a letter from the Treasury that says it's not yours. It's theirs. Now, I've got a video on my Telegram page of a guy that went to court. He touched on right to travel, but he didn't have a license. He goes into court, and the judge talked to him about it. He says, Your Honor, he said, it's unconstitutional for me to have a license. He said, why? He said, because the state forces you to do it, which makes you an employee. And they refuse to compensate me for my time, which amounts to slavery. Which means then I have to actually drive people around all the time, and I'm not getting paid for it. It was almost word for word like that.
Right.
And the judge says, "Huh, I'm going to have to get back to you on that," and lets him walk out. And the guy that told the video, it affected him so much he called the DA. Asked about that guy. They said, "Yeah, every time he has to come to court, he makes the same argument, and the judge don't know what to do with it." What they are telling us they want us to use their stuff to fund their systems over through this chattel paper. But we're volunteering to work for free. We need to stop volunteering to work for free. Right?
Right.
So the Vatican owns a legal name. Show me documentary evidence. I hear these things, but nobody can show me documented something that would stand up in a court of law. Yeah, Roosevelt. Yeah, it goes back further than Roosevelt. It goes back to Abraham Lincoln. So learning, and yeah, I think we've been chasing the wrong thing. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not covet," right? We are coveting someone else's property. If it's theirs, why are we fighting them over it? Why not just let them have it and say, "Okay, if you want us to use it, you need to settle your obligations and compensate us for our time."
Right.
The minute enough people start doing that, like John Eric Roca down in Texas, when they want him to perform some service, he sends them a letter. He says, "I'll be more than happy to come perform in your venue. My retainer fee is $500 for the first hour. My hourly rate thereafter is $500. Please remit payment when I come. He gets a letter back that says, we don't need you. We don't need your services at this time. And if you think that's just in Texas, my buddy Darren up in Canada does the same thing. He owns a trucking company. His trucks are not registered. He don't have to go through scale houses. They don't even mess with him because he made one of the government agencies pay him. Hey, they wanted my time. I sent them an invoice. They refused to pay. He took them to court. They had to pay.
Wow.
So my goal is to teach people, look, start learning how to contract. That's what runs everything is contracts.
Okay.
What is money? Money is a contract.
Right.
I mean, who decided at one time in history tulips were money? Wouldn't that be the parties to the contract?
Yeah. Yep.
You can Google bills of exchange or promissory notes 1776 and go to Google Images. You will find they've been doing this for a long time. They know money is nothing but a contract. Oh, let's see. I actually got a Canadian judge that actually surprised me, though. One of the guys that comes on and talks from Canada, he argued the agency position up in Canada, and the court agreed with him and put it in writing.
Wow.
They said, yeah, that entity is government property and you're just the agent. Well, if you're just the agent, stop volunteering for the liability. Start doing things according to the law.
Right.
Yes, everything is already in trust. Yes. The first trust was created in 1776 called the Declaration of Independence. That's not the proper name. It's actually called a declaration. What comes at the beginning of a trust? You know this, a declaration of trust, right?
Right.
So who's the beneficiary of that trust? That'd be the states. So if the states are the
Absolutely.
beneficiary of that trust, not us, our contract is with the state, we the people of the state of. We the people of the United States is the representatives, delegates, and the federal government, right? So if the states are the beneficiary of the original trust and trustees can create other trusts, Congress being the trustees created the Social Security Trust. By law, who would be the beneficiaries of that trust? Wouldn't it be the state?
Right.
Not you. They'll even tell you you're not, unless you reach the proper requirements to get those limited beneficiary statuses like welfare, Medicaid, Medicare, SSI, disability. Those are spendthrift trusts. These are limited accounts. Okay. The ultimate beneficiary is the state because who do they go to get their funds? Under Title II, Title IV, and Title V. They go to the third trustee in the list, Department of Health and Human Services.
Right. Absolutely. All right. We're rolling up here on almost 45 minutes. Anything you want to close with?
Just putting this stuff out there to get people to. The things are not as complicated as it sounds. It's really not. You just got to change the way you think. And as
Yep.
Jesus said, make peace with your adversary. Don't argue with them. Say, hey, y'all's words, y'all said, y'all own it. Y'all said this, y'all said that. I'm not going to argue with you over that.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, where can everybody find you and get involved?
Buzz Licos Nomos Institute. I'll be going live here at 1600 Eastern.
Yep. 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, couple hours.
Yeah. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go live. If you're in my Telegram group, you'll get the Zoom link and you can freely join and ask questions and come and conversate.
Yep. Absolutely.
I pull up my Westlaw account sometimes. and we do screen shares, and I show you what they say. And if it's not on Westlaw and you want to know where to find it, some of the things I can show you where to find it.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said at the very beginning, create your
You should
goals,
hook me.
create a
You should
pathway.
hook me up. You should hook me up with James. I was hoping he was going to be on. I was going to talk with him.
Oh, yeah, we can do a
But
show.
like you said, today's not the time for that, and I understand
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get you rolling on that.
that. Okay.
I'm just trying to develop everything for after the new year.
Oh yeah. I think
So
next year's going to be interesting, especially after
yeah,
January 20th.
it's January is going to be a very interesting month.
Here's one for you before I go. If you don't
Okay.
think everything runs through contracts and corporations, when Donald J. Trump started running for president in 2016, you've heard the term transition team. You've heard the term the campaign. He set up a business called Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated, and it was called the campaign. I found this by accident. There was over 368 court cases starting in 2016. The media don't talk about that. Everybody thinks that they were harassing the man. No. I should send you the documents so you can see it for yourself. They
Yeah.
were suing Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. And beside it would be parentheses the campaign. And then the next one was called the transition team. It was incorporated. United States operates as a corporation. Can't another corporation manage one corporation? Yes. An LLC can manage a trust.
Yep. Absolutely.
I
Layers.
said, you don't think they know this? That right there's evidence that they do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They have wealth advisors and CPAs and attorneys who advise them how to structure all this stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's freely available to you. Various sources. One of them would be right here, Pastor of the Way. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Well, y'all go catch him on YouTube. He is right here as you see it in his name, Basilikos Nomos Institute.
Well, if you
Go look
can't
that up on
spell it
YouTube.
later, go look up James 2:8. Go to the Greek words for royal law. It's right there.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Brian. I look forward to having you back on the show for an individual segment, and then we'll do something joint with you and James.
And as always, if I find something interesting, I'll let you know.
Oh, absolutely. All right, brother. Well, you have happy holidays and be safe and be careful out there on the road.
Talk to you later.
All right, brother. Bye bye. And there you have it. Brian Robertson, Pastor of the Way, always knowledgeable. I'm going to bring my next guest on here, who is been in the background waiting to come on, wanting to interject with the other guests. Are you there? You live? You kicking? Your microphone's muted.
I'm here. Can you
All
hear me?
right. We can hear you fine, sir. Everybody, this is Minister Jesse Henley, also known as Jesse Wayne Henley Jr. And he has facilitated some P.O. Box modules that I have available on my store. Module 1 is free on YouTube as a presentation video, and then secondary, a Q&A video. So, Jesse, break everybody off to who you are and what you're all about, and tell them about your journey.
Well, most people call me Yesé, which is in Hebrew means one who walks with God, but it's the translation for Jesse. So I thought it was pretty nice. So I kind of adopted that as my walk. I guess I've been in this movement now for my own personal movement, because it's really on an individual basis, when it comes down to it, probably for going on 5 years, give or take, 4 or 5 years. And I've just trying to discover what, what I think is the truth as close as I can, and then try to figure out where I fit inside of there and make things work, and I've discovered I've been subjected to a lot of really knowledgeable people, who have really helped me understand a lot of things that most people would, it's going to take them forever to understand. So sometimes it's not about, what it's about the circle that you keep, because those people who have more knowledge than you will be able to bring you up to their level. So I've been really grateful for that, thankful for that. But aside from that, I've just been making leaps and strides and trying to be a trendsetter, and blaze the path, and try to make a difference in my own way, so that my ultimate goal was to end a generational curse. And I believe I've actually done that just by restoring, honor to the name. Now I have and fame and all things. All right. You still there, Floyd, or what? Must have stepped away from the computer. I don't know if you guys can still hear me or not. Hopefully that's the case. Aside from that, just been working at it, trying to figure things out, and got some things situated at the post office, and give a few classes, just trying to get people the basic ideas of how to set their business up at the post office, get their agents in place, get their powers of attorney set so that they can actually go out and facilitate their business needs, whether it be at the bank or whatever it is that they're trying to do. And in the process, I've learned how to actually do registered mail and how to handle securities and deposit them and things of that nature. So it's been the last 6 months have been kind of fun, but not kind of fun. I don't know if I'm still on here or what. Where you at, Floyd? You're supposed to be interviewing me, not me.
I am right here. I'm letting you tell your story. It's a lengthy story.
All right. Well, that's pretty much the end of that story there. I mean, I stay here with Floyd at the moment, who has been really, really good to me and has always had my back. So I appreciate that a whole lot, and I try to have his back whenever he needs it. So, we have a good brotherhood. So I'm very thankful for that. Things are going good, and we just made some submissions, and hopefully we're going to get some good results from that. I have faith that something's going to give, whether it's my back or whether it's, something comes in the mail that says, hey, you won the lottery. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you can't be in the same room. We'll get microphone feedback.
Yeah, I'm outside.
Oh, okay. All right. So I was actually in the restroom when
I thought you stepped away for a second. That's what I
did. Yeah, I let the dog in, all that. Let me ask you this. So you just recently went down to Waller County and filed a bunch of stuff. So tell everybody about that.
Well, I've basically appointed my county clerk as fiduciary, and I just went down there to submit, or have some orders submitted to, would be the better way to put it. And I deposited some securities for book entry, and hopefully it's going to facilitate these needs to be taken care of. They weren't denied, and when I went up there, I asked about my exemption. I tried to order a something that was on the state level, and she told me that I couldn't apply my exemption for that. She didn't say I couldn't apply my exemption, because obviously they have not said anything about the deposit of my securities. So that means, inside of this order that I submitted to them, it basically said for them to apply my exemption so that I wouldn't have to pay for anything. Because, I shouldn't have to pay for anything. They're facilitating my fiduciary needs. And to the best of my knowledge, I have facilitated and provided them with the necessaries in order for them to perform on my behalf. So I've done my fiduciary duty. Okay, now they have an obligation to perform. Now, whether they do or not, we all know how that cookie crumbles, right? But if I've done my duty and equity begets equity, then they have a fiduciary duty to perform on my behalf. And that's it for about, in regards to that.
Right. And the reason I brought that up and I asked him that question is because we often presume or assume that when we send something or we hand deliver or mail something or e-file something with the government, that the expectation is in 2 to 3 weeks we're going to get an answer, and sometimes they don't answer at all or they drag their feet. This is some of the things that Jesse's been encountering. So the expectations to achieve a goal, whatever that goal looks like, going and filing a piece of paper, and they have to act upon it, within a reasonable certain amount of time, and they don't, it delays everything, and it sets everything off further and further and further. And it takes more time to achieve what you're trying to achieve because the government's dragging their feet some shape, form, or fashion, whatever that looks like, whether they're purposely filing it in another file, they're losing it, or they won't accept it, or they're not replying to it, or whatever that looks like. It's different. Believe me, they will find a reason if they don't want it. So Jesse's been encountering this, even though he's going to Waller County court, the court facility, and he's hand delivering this stuff face to face. He even got a meeting with the county clerk in person. Correct?
Yes, I did. Well, every time I go up there and she's there, I speak to her one-on-one. It's
Right.
always I always make sure that it's one-on-one after I take care of my business, or if it's why I'm facilitating that, whatever it is that needs to be taken care of.
Right.
But yes, she came over after I did my recordings and did what I needed to. I told her deputy that I needed to speak to her, and then we went over to the side, and then we spoke one-on-one. And then
Right.
she basically, you would think that she would have tried to deny me, which she did in a way to try to not take what it was I was presenting to her, but she couldn't force me to take it back from her. And ever since then, whatever I need, she's going to take it from me, because she can't take anything back from me. She has to act like she's going to follow my order, okay, and do what I say I'm going to do. Now, whether she does it or not, that's another story, okay, but she can't give it back to me now, right? She can't just straight up deny me, which is kind of cool. So, then that's when I realized, when I said to her, I was like, what do I need to do? Do I need to write an order? Okay, because I wanted to see what her reaction was, because she had told me prior, another time when I came in, that she needed a court order in order to facilitate what it was I was asking from her, from the judge. Well, when you realize that I am the judge of the court, right, and I can bring my own tribunal, and I can put in an order, and then that tribunal gets the final judgment. So that's what I started trying to facilitate, was to bring in my own tribunal, but establish my credentials prior to getting there so that I could have the full weight and measure of my office, right? Because it's office to office, officer to officer. So once I established my credentials as officer, then I could actually establish from one office to the other, and then submit that order in a fashion where it's petitioner versus, and coming in as the judgment, the person who actually gets to make that call, which is me, the executive officer. So I started trying to facilitate my orders in that manner, because more than twice, she's basically told me in a nutshell, hey, I need an order. I need an order. So I'm like, okay, well, all right, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but let me write an order. Here you go. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see what happens. Let's throw one at the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're pushing and you're prodding and you're asking questions. Jesse has the the blessing of being born in a small county, Waller County, which is Hempstead, Texas, and the courthouse, the whole court facility is so small that you can walk in and you can talk to the county judge, you can talk to the county clerk. Everybody's there, available to speak to you. There's no, like Harris County, you've got to go through layers and layers and layers of different departments, divisions to get to the actual elected person to speak to. So he's very fortunate in that he can just, dive right in and talk to them. Did you tell everybody about your P.O. Box classes and modules?
Well, I talked a little bit about it.
Okay. Are you doing a module 6?
Well, I was really hoping that, people were going to get to a point where they had their credentials set up at the post office, in regards to what we talked about throughout the classes, so that we could get to the next step, right? Most people, they just want to jump to the end and don't realize that they have a whole bunch of prerequisites that have to be filled in order for you to be able to have the credentials and to be able to come forth in order to make the things that I talk about happen. So it sounds like a lot of theory, because in theory it sounds good, but you don't realize all the things that you have to have substantiated before you can actually make that move, right? And it's a level of knowledge and having your business set up in such a way and having a business model, or at least an idea of what it is that we're trying to fund or you're trying to facilitate. So I'm hoping that there's going to be enough people who get their business set up the way that we talked about in the P.O. Box class, so that they'll come forward and say, okay, I'm ready to do this next step. How do I fund this? How do I make this other part happen here? Because I know how to do it and implement it, but I'm the only one on this level. Okay. And it's hard to get people to get to the point where they have their business ready and all those credentials set in place to make that move. So, I'm ready to do a class, but I don't know if the other people are. You know what I'm saying? And it's I'm gonna have to start getting really technical. And if you're not there, then we're just making a video, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's everybody's own individual journey. There's no cookie cutter boilerplate template to get you from A to Z. It's a lot of work, a lot of tenacity, staying on top of things, continue to stay motivated, because it's very easy to get disillusioned, dissuaded, and just give up. I'll never get there. And then there's a lot of people who've done this and, they've crashed and burned. Some of them have just totally burnt out and they just, they're done. They went back to living this normal life and try to forget everything they ever heard or learned about it. So, all right. So basically you're just, hanging in there, moving forward, waiting on them to, act in their fiduciary duty, correct?
That's correct. And I made another invoice today for my secretary, and she's supposed to be coming and picking it up, and she's going to send this. Well, we're going to have to register the security, so obviously we'll have to send it to the back to the estate, and then from there we'll be able to submit that. And like I was asking you yesterday, when you get around to it, start coming up with an idea for that invoice so that we could submit that. But I wanted to go back a little bit to, when I asked to chime in on Bad Wolf. I just really wanted to add on to what he was saying. And about when it comes to the property tax thing, what most people don't understand is that there's no power of attorney on the record at the county for their estate, all right, which that's what the name is put in most of the time when people have it in their individual capacity. They'll put the house in their name. Okay, but they'll never actually have a power of attorney on the record for that entity in the estate capacity. So because there's no power of attorney there, the county picks up the assumption, right, and trust doesn't fail to lack of a trustee. The state becomes the beneficiary, and then they hold you liable for the property taxes. So the first thing that we got to do wherever we have real estate is to have some form of power of attorney on the record, which automatically rebuts that anyone else has the power of attorney. Because if they start making a claim, now they have to bring forth their power of attorney because you're going to bring forth yours, right? So where is their power of attorney coming from? So at least that's the first thing that we stand on.
Right.
The second one is when your house is paid for. He was absolutely right about gifting it, okay? Because we're not creating a taxable event when we gift, right? Now, how do you not have to pay the trust pay the taxes at that point is what becomes the big question. Well, here in the state of Texas, on the comptroller's website, there are two forms, okay, that go back to the county, right? And some counties, you can find it on the tax county assessor's website if they have one with a link with some of the forms you might be able to fill out. But in this instance, they're going to be on comptroller's website. And one is for a revocation of election of an assumed power of attorney, right? So once you move the house into your trust, you revocate the power of attorney that's presumed that the county has over it. And then there's another form where it's called you elect them as the agent for all property tax matters, okay? Because the trust is exempt the same way, that 501(c)(3) is. But you have to be able to implement, the key word here is your exemptions, right? We have to discover what our exemption is and be able to implement that exemption. And those are the things that they conceal from us. They don't want us to be able to apply the exemption. They want to be able to get us to pay and be able to apply the exemption on their end. But in everything, there is an exemption. And in this instance, you would give the county back, what they would need in order to be able to facilitate taking care, or how do I say this, make the books balance, right? And that would be the CP 575 and the delegation of authority from the attorney in fact, appointing them as the registered agent for all property tax matters. Now the county has what they need to balance the books. That nobody has to even see that there is a tax because the county takes your little CP 575, they deduct the money from the trust and they settle the books because it's just accounting. There's no real money on that side. So as long as they have the ability to balance their books, then, and there's a mutual agreement between the parties and the power of attorney is done the proper delegations of authority, et cetera, then they would be happy to facilitate those things on your behalf because you've established a fiduciary relationship with these people in a way that they can facilitate your needs to be, or the trust needs to be taken care of the way that it was supposed to in the first place. But they always want us to be the trustee and to pay for everything. And the big secret is, in my opinion, is that people don't know how to fulfill their fiduciary duty in regards to whatever type of business that they're operating in. They truly don't understand what their real fiduciary duty is, because if they did, no one would be having to pay for anything. Think about that. If we truly knew what we were supposed to do and as our fiduciary duty in regards to whatever it is we're talking about, then ultimately that debt would go back to where it's supposed to go, which would not be to us.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man, I'm going to wrap it up. I've been on here for 2.5 hours. I want to keep this short and sweet. Anything you want to close with?
Well, if anybody is interested in doing a P.O. Box class, another session of this class, and you are ready to actually implement, the funding part, you have your bank account set up, your EPS, you've got your agent at the post office, you got your business set up, you've got your power of attorney and your agent's all set in place, and you're ready to actually do something, then let Floyd know. If we can get 20 people, we'll do a lengthy class, and we'll bring out the paperwork, and everyone will know exactly what needs to be done, okay, and how to facilitate it. But I need people who are at that point, so I don't have to go backtrack to things that you can go and listen to in the P.O. Box classes. Okay, I don't want to have to regurgitate the same thing.
Right. Well, all right.
That's going to be it. I appreciate you bringing me on today, too.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll get you back on for a full show. I don't know what
All
you're going
right.
to talk about, but we'll get you back on.
All right.
All right, brother. Thank you, Minister Jesse Wayne Henley Jr., folks. All right, there you go. I'm going to wrap the show up and continue on with my day. My dog's over here sweating me, so obviously she wants some attention. So we're going to go give it to her. Huh? You want to go outside in the sun? Ooh, yeah. Hit a bell there. As you know what to do, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. If you want to reach me, the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com is my email. TheFearlessFloydShow.com is my website. The Fearless Floyd Show across every social media platform. Again, go nominate my buddy and friend, Dr. Ed Group, to be a part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again team. And if you need some mushrooms, you have some immune issues that you would like to assist supporting your immune system, fearlessfloydpets.com. If you have a question about that, fearlessfloydpets@gmail.com. Kristen or Diana will be more than happy to help you. I have 12 Days of Christmas sale coming up beginning December 25th, running to Epiphany Day, which is January 6th, 2025. All right, everyone. If I don't talk to you before the holidays begin, happy holidays. Be safe. Be careful. Please say prayers for our friend, our brother, A6 Grind Time, Anthony Lawson, the foreign national born national. If you haven't gone, check him out. Go hit him up over there on YouTube. Give him some love, some support. Subscribe. Watch his videos. James C. Lovett, Brian Robertson, Jesse Henley, all three of you, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your education, and your own journey with my audience. Look forward to seeing you next time. Tomorrow, stay tuned. Corey Indralat, a brilliant young man. If you want some inspiration, some motivation, a little burr up your butt to get you motivated to actually accomplish something in life, you need to stay tuned tomorrow, high noon. Come check out Corey. He's not even 25 yet, folks, and he's written 8 or 9 books. I mean, how's that for motivation? This guy's on top of the world. Very, very clever, brilliant young man. Thinks outside the box. If I would hug his parents and put a medal on them. They raised a fine young man. So stay tuned for Corey tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow as well. Y'all have a safe journey. Thank you, everyone. Good night.